Quilting alert! Things are going to get sharp today, but don't worry, only for our fabrics. Welcome to week 2 of our Fragments Quilt Along. I hope you are as excited as I am, because today we are getting down to business, cutting our fabrics. Have you ever made a quilt and wondered how to organize all the pieces? Don't worry. Today I'm going to give you some tips to make your life easier. But first, let's take a look at our beautiful fabrics. This is gorgeous pile right here. These are all the fabrics we chose for our project. A teal background from the spotted line, which perfectly matches the colors of the printed fabrics we've chosen from our Olive Hue collection. Now it's time to get out a rotary cutter and ruler and get to work. But before we get started, let me remind you that you'll find all of your cutting measurements in your pattern. This is our roadmap for this quilting adventure. You can buy it in our shop. The link is in the description box, so keep it handy. We've prepared a downloadable cutting chart for you to use with your background fabric, and we've included cool labels to help you organize your cuts. This is our little gift to you to make the process easier and more organized. You'll find a link in the video description. To cut my background fabric, I use this cutting chart on page 2 of your download. And it says, this is the length from the bolt. This is the width of the fabric. These are my horizontal border strips, vertical border strips, horizontal sashings and vertical sashings. I have to cut them parallel to the selvage, and I want to cut them slightly longer so I can adjust them later. So I want to start with the horizontal border. I go to my pattern to read the lengths, and then I make a snip in my yardage, and with my pair of scissors I cut on the fold of the yardage, so I get this rectangle here. So this is the fabric coming from the bolt, and first I measure the lengths which I need for my horizontal border strips. Come on. Okay, here we go. So I give it a little bit longer, as I said. About here, like that. So here I give myself a pin. That's the easiest way to mark it. So since I only need 1/2 of the complete width, I go with my pair of scissors and split the lengths apart. Now I have to cut through here, but only through one layer of the fabric. I set my long leftover yardage aside for now. This is the large piece I want now to get my 2 horizontal strips from. So I fold it so it's easier manageable, like that. Again, like that. So take good care that your selvage is congruently. These are my both horizontal border strips. Put them away for now. Now vertical border strips. I have that leftover piece here. I measure now this length and go forward in the same manner. These are now my both vertical border straps. I can set them aside for now. I should label them. Set them aside for now. Next I will cut the horizontal sashing strips. Again, I measure how long these strips should be and how wide I have to cut, and first cut a larger rectangle and split it into 4 strips. First I cut now the lengths of my horizontal border strips, and I cut them also slightly longer to be able to adjust them later. So we need 4 of them, and I need about the half of the width of fabric, so I can stop at the fold here. This is the large rectangle for the 4 horizontal sashing strips. Again, I fold it and am now able to cut precisely the width of each strip. A little label on top to keep myself organized. Put it aside for now. So the last step is to cut all the vertical sashings. Again, I would go with a long rectangle, roughly cut, and from there I would split it in all the needed rectangles given in the pattern. Just labeling it. And now we can go forward cutting for the blocks. Okay, now we come to the next important step in our Fragment Quilt Along, cutting the blocks. I know some of you might be a little bit nervous about cutting into these beautiful fabrics. I don't want to make any mistakes, but don't worry, I will walk you through the process step by step. Again, you will find a cutting chart in your download that will show you the most efficient way to cut the fabrics from the printed fabric sections. And as always, you will find the exact cutting measurements in your pattern. As you can see on this picture, we will have 5 different block types. Each block will appear 5 times in the complete quilt. So the first 3 blocks, 1 to 3, these are sewn with the simple piecing method. And block 4 and 5, we will sew with the foundation paper piecing method. Don't worry if you don't like foundation paper piecing. No problem, you can easily replace the bows with some of these types. We'll start with the blocks we are going to sew using the simple piecing method. These are the easier blocks, 1 to 3, perfect for warming up. Use these fancy labels to help you keep track of all the different pieces. So let's go to work. So this is how you read your cutting chart. You see a print for the yellow fabric, which is this one in my case. So let's take that one out. The cutting chart says these are the binding strips. So I cut a large rectangle for my binding later and set it apart for now. Next, my cutting chart suggests these are the shapes for block 1, for block 2, for block 3, from the simple piecing method. I go now to my pattern over here and I read for block 1 the measurements I have to cut in yellow. So you go to your pattern and read how large this square should be. And then we cut those 3 squares for block 1 from our yellow fabric first. It is very crucial that you go on the wrong side of your fabric when we later cut the foundation paper pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. I split them in the segments. Now you can see these are the squares which will build this part of block number 1. Therefore, they get my label number 1. Put it aside for now. Next, my cutting chart says I should cut the rectangles for block 2. So I go to my pattern, to block 2, and read how large this shape should be. I need 5 rectangles in total, and this doesn't give me the 5th one, so I will cut it from the remaining next strip. Set it aside for now. Next, our cutting chart suggests for 5 rectangles, block 3. We are done with the simple blocks so far, and we will also go cutting for the foundation paper piecing blocks. That's block 4 and 5. Foundation paper piecing stands for a technique that allows us to create beautiful, precise patterns. Don't worry, if this is new to you, I'll guide you through the process step by step. But before you even cut into your template sheets, make sure they have the right proportion, the right size. So I cut now out all the parts for block 4. I cut out a square without the seam allowance. I've cut out my red square, which is block 4 as the pattern says. Now I will cut out the single segments. So first I have to split the square here. And again here. Puzzle reverse, you could say. See, this is my block number 4, and if I turn around these pieces, you can easily see this will be yellow. This would be beige, this would be green. I need that one to cut my yellow fabric, but I have to flip it back and cut from the wrong side. That's crucial. So let's do that. So you can easily cut like that and then turn it around to save some fabric. And of course, you have to give some seam allowance. I would suggest for ½ an inch. You can, if you want to, just eyeball and then trim around, or you can be super precise with your ruler, but then you have to pin it so it sticks on place. So I do just eyeball it. That's about ½ an inch here, about ½ an inch here. And then trim that salvage away. And now I can use it, flip it, or turn it around to save a little bit of fabric. And have already 2 pieces cut. And I need 5 of them. label them for block 4. Meanwhile, you got the idea. Means for block 5, again, you would cut out the green square, you would split it in segments, you would place the segments on the wrong side of your fabric, and you would cut them out with an extra thick seam allowance. And then you would have all the pieces for block 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in yellow. And then you would go ahead with the other colors using your cutting chart. Means the next step would be to go with your pale teal, cut out the strips, cut out those triangles, label them, stick the label 1 onto block 1, label 2 on block 2, label 3 on block 3. So you are prepared with 5 stacks of different colors to saw later the blocks. My fabrics are all cut. Each block has 3 or 4 different colors, so I stacked them and grouped them by block number. And that's it for today. I hope you had as much fun cutting as I did. Before we say goodbye, a few important things. Don't forget to share your progress with the hashtag Fragment QAL. You have the chance to win a beautiful layer cake. I'm so excited to see your cuts. If you liked this video, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more quilt tutorials, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Next week it's going to get really exciting. We are starting to sew our first blocks with the simple piecing method, so get your sewing machines ready. Until then, have fun with your cuts, happy quilting, and see you soon.